What's up, everybody? Welcome to Bios3 Raw TV. Today we're going to continue on with the IFBB Pro Olympia breakdowns, since you guys seem to like these videos. And today we're going to do Jay Cutler. Okay, a lot of you guys are asking me to do the Jay Cutler breakdown because I did the Big Ramy, I did the Phil Heath, and although it's just my opinion, it's what I see, some of you kind of are, really shocked because I picked Jay to win the Olympia originally. Now, what you got to understand is, hadn't seen Jay, hadn't seen the other guys. Nobody really knew what everybody was looking like. Even Big Ramy was posting pictures of himself up till, I think, like 3 weeks out, then he stopped. They weren't going to put up any more until the show. So nobody really knew what anybody looked like. A week before, there was a picture of Phil in a shirt, Phil Heath, and his face was puffy, bloated. It looked like he was going to be off, like he wasn't going to nail it. And, as far as Dennis Wolf, I mean, he was training clothed, like fully clothed. Nobody really knew. But what I did know was Cutler was not coming down from his normal high body weight to compete. He was coming up, then back down, then up, then back down. He was doing something a little bit different. And there were times where I could tell he was flat, okay? He was fully clothed. He was, at the grocery store shopping or whatever in these videos, and he was flat. I mean, he was depleted. He wasn't eating many carbs. And as it turns out, he was on like broccoli and tilapia or, flounder or whatever it was for like weeks at a time to get his skin super thin and get his body fat down. Now, when I say super thin, it doesn't mean that fish makes your skin super thin. It means it's just a good lean protein source, and he wasn't eating any carbohydrates to get his body weight down to where he needed to be to compete. Now, as he got leaner and leaner, I could see his face. His face was getting more and more drawn out. Now, Jay, we never see him with a drawn-out face, okay? And we also never see him being that vascular either. Normally very full. So now you knew he's bringing something a little bit different, and his projected body weight was to be about the same as he was at the 2009 Olympia, okay? So now I'm sitting there going, if he comes in at the body weight of 2009, and he comes in with better conditioning and better vascularity and fullness, and he was specifically working on his lat fullness and his shoulder fullness that he said that, was lacking at the time the videos were made, you're looking at basically a better version of 2009 that nobody could touch then. And by the way that these other guys were looking, not coming in hard, it didn't look like Phil was going to be shredded. Dennis Wolf didn't look like none of them looked like they were going to be shredded 2, 3, even a week out. They still didn't look hard and dry. They were still retaining so much water in their face that they looked like they hadn't even dieted if they were wearing a baggy shirt. So, yes, I picked Cutler to win. Now, what happened? Jay did not win. When he got on stage, it was apparent that he was not only a little bit flat Friday night, he was down in size. His lats were much smaller than they were in the past. And it seemed like there was a atrophy in his right bicep. Not his left, which has been surgically repaired, the right one. Now, the only thing I can figure is there's some kind of nerve damage going on in that right arm that's not allowing the bicep to build again, the forearm. You can see it. And he was getting, I think it was like 2 to 3 hours a week, even more, of massage therapy and deep tissue massage to try to get his body mobile enough to where he wasn't in pain to train. And he's had extreme lower back injuries, or not injuries, but pain in the past, to where he said he couldn't even walk while he was training. So now you take out the fact that as far as doing the heavy barbell rows, the heavy dumbbell rows, stuff like that, that he normally did to get that back the way it was, with atrophy and a weaker bicep on one side and a surgically repaired one on the other side, he stuck to most of the machines. And this is why his back did not, I feel, his back didn't fill out like the rest of him did. As far as the lower back, if he was having issues in his lower back and having to have the massage therapy, now he's not going to be able to squat like he used to also. So now he's using more leg presses, lighter poundages, but that didn't really seem to affect his legs. His legs were still probably the best on stage. They were cross-straighted, deep, shredded cuts. And when he turned around, even his hamstrings were just retarded looking. So it wasn't like he had lost a step. It seemed like he had brought what he could, but everybody else had progressed to the point where, they were ahead of him, and nobody knew it. I certainly didn't know it. And I didn't know it until I saw them on stage in person. And this is where you guys are all, you're full of shit, Big Ramy this and Phil that. You guys don't understand. All you guys who are the computer cowboys sitting there bitching about who should and shouldn't win the Olympia, none of you guys saw these guys in person. I saw them in person. I saw how big Jay still really is. I saw how round Phil is. I saw how, smooth Big Ramy was and how unimpressive in person he was when he lost 20 pounds to get on the the Olympia stage, he looked better 20 pounds before when he was fuller. So, you know, my breakdown of Jay is he can still bring the conditioning. He could still bring a top 5 physique hands down. He does have a couple injuries that are causing him to not be able to live up to the potential of what he has now. Do I think we've seen the last of Jay? I don't know. I really don't know. I feel like Jay is a gym warrior, just like Ronnie Coleman. Ronnie Coleman said he would, you know, someday at some point he'll be back. He's not going to fully retire. He would love to come back on the stage one day, and that's, you know, would he be his main goal? And I see Jay the same way. I see that, you know, it's very much in his blood to be competitive, and that's what he's been doing for the last, you know, what, 20 years, 15 years, or whatever he's been on top. I mean, let's face facts. The guy's record, you know, he hasn't lost anything in how many years? I mean, he's lost like one show. When he lost to Dexter, he hasn't been below second, I believe, in like 15 years in the top pros. So, I mean, his physique definitely is different now. I think he was actually smart for training around his injuries and training different. You know, he turned 40 and he says straight out, you know, his body's different now than it was. And he trained differently. I do feel like if he had pushed himself with the heavy barbell rows, heavy dumbbell rows, heavy squats, he would have permanently injured himself to the point where that would be it. That would absolutely be it. But whether or not he decides to get on stage ever again is not the point. It really doesn't matter at this point. He's already produced one of the most legendary physiques that's ever going to stand the test of time in bodybuilding. He's also, you know, multiple Arnold Classic winner, multiple Mr. Olympia winner, and one of the best ambassadors the sport has ever seen, if not the best ambassador. You can find Jay at any one of his appearances staying there till the last person has had a handshake or a picture taken, whereas a lot of these guys, they concentrate more on, I got to compete, I got to compete, I got to compete, and they don't even do the appearances like he does. So, you know, my take on Jay's physique is it's not done yet, but it's never going to be the same as it was. And unfortunately, you know, I think that's what he'll be judged against. I think people will judge him that he's not where he was before. And no matter what package he brings, it'll never be what it was. And from then on, they'll say, oh, he's lost his step, no matter what he produces. So, biosretraining@gmail.com. Leave comments down below, but don't fight. www.biosretraining.com is the blog, and where the Cutler No Retire Bicep, we're out.